Welcome, everyone. I am so glad that you are joining us today. I have the privilege to be interviewing Caroline Gawlik today. And if you don't know who she is, you definitely need to start following her. I've actually known Caroline since she started in real estate. And I got to say, when I wanted to have her on the podcast, because it's all about success and what it means to you guys, she was one of the first people that I thought of. The amount of things that she has achieved in her career has been phenomenal. And not just her current career, but also her past career too was pretty exceptional. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you. Now, what I want to do is throw it off to you. I want to allow you to tell everybody more about who you are. We'd love to get to know you better. So please share a little bit about your background, what got you into real estate, and what got you excited about the industry in general.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me on today, Colleen. Such a pleasure. And all those amazing words you have to say about me.
Very true. Very true.
Thank you. So I've been doing real estate now. I've been with the Jennifer Jones team at EXP for 3.5 years. So it's been a great career change. I was previously in cosmetics and doing sales, doing that prior. And then about me, so I love to work out. You'll probably see me at F45 every single day. A big foodie, love to go to restaurants on the weekends. Love to be in nature, go out to cottages in the summer, love to travel as well. We have a trip planned to Italy coming up in a few months, so super excited for that.
I'm so jealous of that. That's amazing. I love Italy. Where are you going in Italy?
You know, I haven't planned that out fully, so if you know places to go, I'll definitely be asking you.
Amalfi Coast, I have heard, is amazing. I am set to go there for a wedding in 2015, or sorry, not 2015. Oh my gosh, I wish I could go back to 2015. 2020, set to go there. So I've heard it's amazing there. But also, so my husband's family is from Crotone, which is in the Arch of the Boot. It's a coastal area, and apparently it's absolutely picturesque as well. So those are my two suggestions. And then, of course, you know, the regulars, Milan, everywhere else that you hear about.
Of course, got to do some shopping in there. All I know right now is they're flying into Rome, so I'll have to figure out from there.
I love it. When I flew in, I backpacked when I was younger, and I flew in, and I'm going to butcher how you say it. Please, I can't roll my R's, but it's Mestre. It's near Venice. So I flew in there. I met up with my husband and his not his brother, sorry. Andrew's kind of like a brother, a lifelong friend. And we backpacked, we went into Venice and everything, and it was amazing. Stayed in a hostel. And one of the core memories that I have about that backpacking is literally sitting in an alleyway on cobblestones, eating pizza, eating or drinking red wine, eating pasta da cut, gnocchi, everything. It was amazing.
Delicious. All the ice cream, pizza, pasta. I can't wait for that.
I know. Okay, so I am, as you can tell, thrilled to have you today. So what I would love for you to do is let our audience know what they can expect of you through our interview today, getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So going through real estate, I think a lot of people think you get into real estate, you put up a for sale sign on someone's lawn and you get these great big commission checks.
Yeah.
What I initially thought, but that's not the reality. So there's just so many different milestones going through it, the struggles, the challenges, the incredibly rewarding stuff that comes with it. And definitely also challenging in a different market. I started off when the market was booming during COVID, and then things started to slow down, things are picking back up. So going through a shifting market, it's learning all about that throughout.
It's definitely hard when you are going through that shifting market as well, because you come in, adapt it to a certain understanding of the environment, and then suddenly it shifts on you. And especially if you're a new agent, your first shift is a really scary shift, whether it's a good or bad shift, right? Because if it's a good shift, suddenly you're drinking from a fire hose, having to take on a load you might not have been prepared for. And if it's a negative shift, then you're like, wow, am I supposed to continue doing this? So I can understand the shift that you went through.
Well, that's just it too. And you'll have people telling you, like even people that are in my inner circle, they were like, you should probably get out of real estate now. Like it's not a money tree anymore, right? It's like all those scary thoughts about people around you. So it's definitely navigating your mindset and setting yourself up so you know how to move forward with it.
And it's really hard because a lot of success for people is about those who surround you, right?
Definitely.
So if you've got a network that's telling you, hey, maybe you should think twice about doing this, not a money tree anymore, I can imagine how much resilience that must have taken for you to push through and, prove them wrong, because you have proven them wrong. Yeah. What I want to do, I want you to take us on your journey with the real estate, starting from when you started, getting into where you are now. On that journey, can you highlight some key moments that really shaped your career? Because I know you've had a lot of great opportunities that you've encountered. And then I know you've also had some really strange hurdles that you've had to overcome as well. So tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Definitely. So I feel like getting into it. So I think the first thing for anyone getting into real estate is you have to find out if you want to be a solo agent or if you want to join a team. So I went down the team avenue. I'm on a great team right now. I think we have a team of about 40 or 50 agents. The team's constantly growing and evolving, but there's so much support there. So from monthly meetings and going through a boot camp, you do learn so much at Humber, but once you actually get out into the real world, like all you learn in Humber is how not to get sued essentially. But getting out like how to write an offer, what clauses to put in, the team was great for all that, and I learned so much. So coming into that, I got to learn all that great stuff. But now it's going out into practice and learn the real world. So we service a lot of rural areas where there's waterfront properties like that. So initially going out, we had someone that would come with me for a showing, for instance, and they would tell me what kind of well is that, what septic system is this, and just learning so much from that. So I took so much learning from other people and was able to learn that myself, and now bringing agents on to EXP and just bringing people forward and being able to teach them everything that I've learned.
That's amazing. I love that. It's really important to be able, when you do learn good information from people and you're able to share it, it's really rewarding. And being able to see you scope other new agents coming on or new to the team, even just learning how to deal with rural properties, that's really important because that is a specific niche. You know, it's not like you're going out and you're dealing with a regular townhouse or, you know, whatever else you might be dealing with in the market. You're actually dealing with sometimes like horse properties, like we discussed before. You're dealing with waterfront properties. Like those are all different types of animals. And I imagine that also brings you into the cottage type properties. So, and then that also brings you into, you know, generational families and all that. So it's a whole different animal that you're dealing with too.
Oh, because I find cookie cutter homes, not saying that isn't hard. There's always different beasts to deal with, but when you're getting into more advancement stuff, like yesterday, home evaluation for a horse farm. So again, completely different. We're on 30 acres. We're dealing with something that's a niche property, whole different sets of buyers that are come out to that. So definitely different aspects of it and learning different elements.
Yeah, and it requires different aspects of you too. Like I imagine even just going out to a horse farm requires a completely different outfit and different materials that you're bringing too.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, you don't want to go out there in a nice pair of shoes because I've seen your wardrobe. It's gorgeous. Okay, so what I want to know, because you have had a good amount of success in your shorter career. You were into real estate, you've been in there for about 3.5 years. But the amount that you've achieved so far has just been astronomical. And I can't wait, honestly, to see how far you take this. But what I want to know is, how do you define success, both personally and professionally? Because we all have our ideas of what success means to us. So what I'd want to know is, how do you define it? And how has that maybe changed over your careers and over just your life trajectory in general?
For sure. I think for myself, so when I think of success, the first thing that comes to me is I want to know what are my goals for the year. So the first thing I do before it even hits January 1st, like December comes around, I love to make up a whole vision board of what do I want to achieve that year and set it all out. I'm very big that if you want something, you have to let the universe know what you want. So you'll see me sitting in front of my computer, printing images out and putting it onto my board because that's what I want to do that year. I also every day set out my intentions with my 5-minute journal. Absolutely love it. I write down what I want to do that day, what I want to achieve, and my affirmations. So that always gets me going. In terms of success, going further, so I find every year it's different for me, right? So personal goals may be different, real estate goals are different, but I've noticed with real estate, the biggest thing that I've come to realize, it's not just transactional. I find a lot of agents are very much so that they do a deal and like that's success in getting that commission check to come around. But for me, I think the true definition of success in real estate is how many referrals are you getting from that client? So you can do one deal and they'll never talk to you again, but it's holding that relationship and maintaining it and seeing, do they refer you? Are you constantly in contact with them? Are they reaching out when they have a pipe burst in their house and they need a referral, right? Are you always just there to help them, assist them throughout their lifelong process?
I love that you define your success like that, as having that lifelong relationship, because that's very similar to how I define my own success as well. Having done, combined a couple of different careers into one and into my coaching that I do now, a lot of what I do is I bring clients along with me. So I have literal clients that I have been working with for oh my God, like I'm going to say I have connections that I've been working with since I was 21, and I
Oh,
am no
goodness.
longer 21. So I'm going to say we're looking at, I'll just say we're 16 years ish. I've had clients I have worked with that long, and they have followed me across my careers. And to me, that's a lot of success, because also they've kind of become friends as well. So when somebody gives me their honest trust, that to me is truly what part of success is when somebody trusts you so deeply. So
Definitely.
I love that you're aligned with that. Okay.
Yeah. I also think like keeping up with with what's going on in the industry. So I know AI has been a big one. So I mean, implementing that in your business to help you cut down on time and just how can it help serve your business? So that one's a great one too for myself.
Oh, I totally agree. Everyone who's listening today, if you are not incorporating AI, and I don't care what kind of business you are, if you are not incorporating AI into your business strategy, you are falling behind, and we can't afford to fall behind in today's age. So start incorporating it. Just start dabbling in it. I can't encourage people enough. Like, you and I have talked about AI in the past too, and I love it. I think it's a phenomenal tool. I will use it for the simplest of tasks, and it cuts down so much time for me. So I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna even say like if I need help doing a social media post, even just put it out there, help me write a social media post, or if I need help with the clause, I know it's not a legal thing yet, but it can definitely help writing emails to clients. I've even used it to help write my wedding day speech. So definitely
That's amazing. Yeah, because you did. You just got married a short while ago. So
good.
congratulations again. That's
Yeah.
amazing. What I want to know is, how do you celebrate your success, your wins? So when you achieve a goal, when you hit a milestone, even if it's not a planned one, how are you actually celebrating that? Because it's so important to celebrate. Otherwise, we keep moving the marker up, and we never are happy with our achievements. So how do you celebrate?
I think for me, so there's two ways that I celebrate. One is the way of going out and say I wanted to buy a purse for the longest time. I'm really into like designer shoes and purses. So always adding something to my collection there in that sense. But then also other goals in terms of buying investment properties. I know that's next on our list to start investing in that way.
I love
So
it.
every time there's a transaction done, there's a certain amount of money put aside to that pot to get us moving in the right direction.
Oh, that warms my financial strategy heart. You know how much I love that stuff. So
Oh,
that's me. I'm so glad to hear that. That's truly something that I wish that more people in industries where there are large commissionable activities. I wish more people would take that strategy and siphon off the funds to be able to achieve the bigger, broader personal goals. Because success isn't just about career; it's across the board, and it's incorporating your personal stuff too. So I love that. Now that kind of leads into my next question, which is right on topic there. When you're planning for your future, how do you do that? Like, what strategies do you incorporate for both your personal and your professional aspirations?
definitely. I think a big one for like planning for your future in real estate is you never know when your next check is coming. So you definitely have to be smart in terms of your savings and where's that money going. Another one is be smart with your taxes. I know not all of us like to put that money away before we dip into that pot, but don't get into that mess.
Yes.
I just
To be
make sure
messy.
you're putting that money aside or having other assets of income. For example, having an investment property or things like that that are going to get you going in the right direction.
Yeah. It's really smart to do that. And there's a lot of really creative tax strategies that, if you do plan in advance, can set you forward. I know you and I have talked about it too. So anybody who's curious about it, reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to teach you some of the cool strategies that I've helped implement. But it's key to do that, because when you are ahead of the ball, you can grow your finances exponentially.
Oh, sure.
Now, because we kind of touched on it at the beginning of this chat here, I want to know, based on your personal experience and what you see with people around you, new people coming into the industry, what do you think is one of the most common misunderstandings that people have about success as a real estate agent?
I think I kind of touched on this earlier. It was even my own misconception. I mean, you get into real estate thinking it's just the easiest job in the world, that you literally go meet a client, you sign some paperwork, and you're sticking a for sale sign on the property and the house sells. But there's so many different challenges that you go through. For example, a client thinks your house is worth more than it really is. So then you're navigating that challenge with them more. It's a unique property. For example, a horse farm.
Yeah.
There's waterfronts that, again, waterfronts are in demand, but in certain periods of time. So you're just navigating different challenges. Sometimes you go into meeting with a client and the clients are getting divorced where there has been a death in the family. So you're handling different aspects. You're holding their hand in so many different areas. You're not just a real estate agent. You're consoling them. You're helping them. You're almost like you have 20 different hats, I'd say, like just navigating different directions and being that person for them.
And I think that that's something that's really important that you've just noted too, because this is one of the areas where I personally believe that you are excelling. I know how much work you're doing in working to understand how to communicate well with people. So with you taking the course that you are taking right now, it is so key because that helps you connect with people on that deep level. And like you said, when you are working with somebody who has, perhaps it's a family member who's just lost a parent and they're having to sell their parents' home, or it's a family that is just lost a spouse and they're downsizing, or they are a retiree couple that is an empty nesting couple. There's so much emotion attached to home sell and buy scenarios. And because of that, you really are, you're basically like a therapist. And so being able to be equipped and being able to communicate with people and actually connect with them goes back to the definition of success is the long-lasting relationships. People like to work with those that they know, like, and trust. So when you work on your communication skills, which we'll talk about in a moment, that really enhances it. So I love your answer there. Now, what I want to know is, obviously in the real estate industry, having technical expertise as well as personalized service is absolutely crucial. So how do you balance your strike to ensure that your clients are receiving the best service possible? Like, you're exceptional. How do you ensure that they're receiving that exceptional care?
I think one of the things that I do that a lot of my clients love is, so say, for example, my clients are buying a property, right? So I had that recently with first-time home buyers. We were going out to see a bunch of properties. So the first thing I do when someone gets in contact with me, if it's a husband or a wife or it's brother or sister or anything like that, I put them into a group chat together. So if there's any questions that come up, it all goes in there. So if like a spouse is working currently and the other one's asking a question, they can go back and read the chat. Or if I send a property, they can go back and reference. And that way we're constantly always in communication. And if they have anything, just pop it in the chat.
That's really smart, because I do find with some of the real estate agents that I've coached, one of the biggest issues when a client is kind of wavering or they're not feeling that connection is a lack of communication to some degree. In every relationship, there's always going to be the dominant player who is controlling the conversation to a degree. And I don't mean controlling in a bad way, but who is managing the communication, who is, asking the questions and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that the other person doesn't want to be involved. So you initially taking that strategy of automatically involving them is very inclusive. And I think that that's really important, because sometimes it's difficult to know who's actually driving the decision right away. You may have that dominant player who's the one that's asking all the questions, but the one who's sitting back and being quiet, it might be the one who's driving the conversation about what direction to go.
Oh, for sure.
So key that you do that. I think it's a really, really smart thing that you're incorporating. Now, we have a world that is constantly changing. Trends, like, if you're when you're on social media, you see how many trends are constantly churning on a daily basis. And in addition, lots of regulation changes. We've got all of the banking changes that have taken place over the last, never mind the last year, last couple of years too. It's wildly different. And then we've also got all of the new regulations that have been put in place for real estate agents over as well. And a lot of them are good. They protect the client. That is what we want. How do you handle that? Like, how do you keep up with those trends? How do you incorporate those changes with the regulations and technology? Because we mentioned AI already. So how do you
Definitely.
keep up with it?
So I'm lucky to be on a team where we have an amazing person in our office that's always, I personally listen to them myself, but if Trev's hosting a seminar or anything like that, always jumping on to make sure we're up to date with all the new policies that
Mhm.
are going into effect. But then again, the team will always host a training, send out mandatory emails, just so we're always on top of everything and making sure that our clients are protected and we're always avoiding any legal issues or anything like that. So we're always on top of it to make sure clients are 100% protected.
That's important because I mean, there's lots of times I've run into real estate agents who do not take that forward looking approach. And the client gets into trouble for it too.
Oh, for
I mean, you remember when there was all of those bidding scenarios, and I
yeah.
can't tell you how many times it seemed like every other week I was hearing stories of agents saying about how their client was getting sued.
Yeah.
Listen, there was lots of scenarios where it probably was out of everybody's hands and it was an
Yeah,
unfortunate case. But there was also some scenarios where the question of how didn't you warn them? How didn't you protect them from that scenario came to mind? And then, it boils down to maybe they didn't know, they didn't understand whatever the scenario was. But I love that you guys have that forward looking approach and that you're actively taking it yourself.
for sure. I think it's very important. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to protect our clients. So you
Mhm.
never put what am I trying to say here? Like never put yourself first. It's always the client first. If it's
Yeah.
not me, for example, if I think a property is listed for an X amount of money and it's not worth that money, I'll tell my clients right away it's not worth it, where the resale value is not there. Let's keep looking forward. This is just not the one for them, right? So always being honest and transparent, that comes back 1,000 folds. I know, for instance, too, there's been times where I've gone for a home evaluation and a client wants to sell off a home. And we tell them to like, hey, let's leave this as an investment property because this is how it could benefit you. So I mean, leaving that thought of like, hey, I can make commission today, but at the door, and what's going to benefit this client today instead.
That's smart. That's actually really good business practice because those clients turn into referral clients as well. Like when we were going back to that trust factor, I've seen the opportunities where people will, you know, in sales speak, leave the money on the table because
Right.
they know that they can make more money by saying the right thing for the client at that time. Because eventually, let's say that that client then gets into the investment game. They maybe weren't in it before, but now they're in the investment game. And they're like, you know what, this really works for me. I'm going to
Yeah,
leverage 6 months from now. I want to buy a house. I've got a friend, by the way, too, that wants to sell their house. Go take a look at it because you're honest.
exactly.
So, yeah, I like that. I like that you're very honest about it. Okay, so we know how key communication is when it comes to any type of sales in general, but especially in real estate. Communication is so important. We touched upon how you involve everybody in that group chat. Also about your own communication skills, how you have very strong ones to start, but that you're constantly working to improve them. So how do you ensure transparency and clarity in your actions with all of your clients throughout the entire process? Like, for example, let's say that you're having a hurdle that you're encountering with a client. How do you ensure that you're handling that and making sure that there's the transparency, the clarity, and that they end the conversation knowing what to expect?
I think the first point I always think of is take the emotion out of it. So, for example, if there's some sort of emotion, take it to the side and think clearly. Like I'm a very visual person, so I like to write everything down. Like what's happened so far? What should I do next? Then if I get stuck, I know I've come to you in situations. I'm like, I'm dealing with this client. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Right? I know
Yeah.
people have been so great for that, like learning body language and just stirring cues to
Yeah.
direct myself better and move forward. It has been life changing, definitely.
Yes. Oftentimes, I do find when there's any type of turbulence, hurdles, concerns, one of the best ways to bring somebody down from a heightened situation is to get into rapport with them.
Yes.
So one of the I know you've heard me say it a number of times, but the first thing that I do when I'm meeting somebody, whether it's personally, in person rather, or virtually, is I work to get into their same breath pattern.
Yeah.
So I pay attention because automatically it creates that essence of comfort because you're breathing the same pace. And it seems like such a silly thing to do, but everybody who is listening, it works and it works really well.
I remember when we first started coaching together back, 3.5 years ago. I remember one thing you said to me, and I thought, like, this isn't true. It was when someone's done with the conversation, their foot starts to point towards the door. And then I naturally started paying attention to myself. And every time I was like, okay, I'm over this conversation, my foot pointed that way, where I was talking to someone. I'm like, we've been talking for too long. Same thing, their foot pointed towards the door.
Yeah.
So you start to notice, like, these things are not, I mean, they're not made up. They're actually real. And like our body naturally does these things.
I know, it's so interesting when you're paying attention to those subtle cues.
Yes.
When you just know what to pay attention to, then suddenly you're like, oh, and you feel like you're in control of the conversation.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so when you're guiding clients through such a significant process when they're buying a home, it definitely requires objectivity from your standpoint. Now, you were talking before about when you're valuing houses, how you go in there and you make sure that you're taking emotion out of it. But how do you ensure that you're providing that unbiased assessment? Like, how do you prepare to make sure that it's not guided by anything other than the factual information?
For sure. I think just like any realtor, I mean, we go onto our TREP system and we pull up what is recently sold in the last 3 months, or if it's a unique property, we dig a little further into the time frame, then looking for what's sold, what's currently for sale, and then we use other factors, right? Time adjustments or anything else that has impacted certain parts. But one thing I always clients when they're interviewing multiple agents, I've seen this happen so many times and it frustrates me to the bone. Yeah. Someone will tell them that their properties, like say property's worth $1 million and like all the facts are there, all the comps are there, but someone says, oh, but another agent told me it's worth 1.5. So I always tell the client, go back and ask the agent, did they say that they'll list your house for 1.5? Because I could list your house for 10 million, but is it really going to sell? Probably not, right? It's going to sit on the market. And the longer it sits on the market, people are going to wonder what's wrong with the property. And then really you're going to lose more money for it sitting that much longer instead of listing it correctly the right way the first time.
I can't stress that enough because you're absolutely right in that. And this is a big hurdle that a lot of clients do get held up on. Yes. Like, here's the thing. If a house is priced correctly, then it will sell in a good period of time. And if it's a multiple bidding scenario, you might even get more, right? You have to remember that. But I'll give an example. So where my kids go to daycare, there's a street I drive down every single day, and I have seen this specific house for sale. I remember before Christmas it was for sale. We are going on. It has been listed, like actually sign up. Nobody lives there either. So I believe it's probably a flip. So sign up, everything, lights are on at nighttime. It looks beautiful from the outside. It is now like almost 4 months later and it is still there. And there's not, like, I've never once seen a sold sign and like the deal fell through. Never that. I have always seen it just sitting there for sale. And I automatically think, what's wrong with this house?
Right. So that's just our natural instinct. Like, what is wrong with it? Why has it not sold yet?
Exactly. So then, you go through all the different scenarios. Was it a grow up? Did it have a foundation issue? Did they use like really ugly fixtures inside? Oh, did they overprice it? Like, all of that stuff goes through. And the moment that somebody's brain starts thinking that, and I'm not even in that market for a house, but the moment that somebody's brain starts thinking that, they attach a negative connotation to the property, and then you're fighting an uphill battles.
And I think the thing is too, like, the market just doesn't react well to stale listings. Like, if I was a client for myself, if I was to see that property you just mentioned and then a brand new property that just came onto the market, I would gravitate towards seeing that new property that just came on. Yeah. And if clients that had this property listed for 4 months even just did a price adjustment, like, what is their willingness to negotiate that price further down if they just dropped it, right? So definitely consider.
Well, I know you'll go and research it because you know the street that I'm talking about. You're gonna be like, oh, you have to tell me why it's still sitting there later.
I have to do that right after our call because I'm super intrigued in that.
I know. Okay, so what kind of legacy do you want to leave in the real estate industry? I mean, you got into the industry for a reason, as we touched upon before. You had a different idea when you came in, then you learned what it's really about. Now being in here and verging on your 4th year in the industry, having achieved some pretty remarkable success in your career so far, what kind of mark do you want to leave here?
That's a great question. I know, like, for myself, I've never been the type of person that can sit in an office. That's why I got into real estate. I just love being around people and interacting and just being out and experiencing new things every day. Yeah. But it really boils down to, like, I want clients to know that when they're dealing with me, it's always just honesty, integrity, and like you get what you see. I'll never lie to you. I'll always be truthful, transparent. If I tell you this house isn't worth it, because it's not worth it, or you'll always get honesty, no matter what to expect. And I hope to have relationships with my clients for life. So from their first home to like when they need a bigger home when they have more kids to like their retirement home, I plan to be there and hold their hand through like every deal and transaction. And that excites me to be a part of their lifelong journey.
I love that. That is a really nice legacy because it's a legacy of a lifelong journey
Yes, yeah.
alongside people. All right. So finally, I want to know what message, what piece of wisdom would you like to share with our audience today? You know, whether it's about your success you've achieved or the success that you want to achieve, what would you like people to know?
I should say, if you're thinking of getting into real estate, just definitely make sure this is the business for you. I know so many agents get into it. I think we have 70,000 real estate agents on the Toronto Real Estate Board,
Yeah.
and there's only so many. They're doing so many transactions. So make sure that if you decide to go solo, I think a lot of agents think going solo is a great option for them, and it definitely can be. Or if you want to join a team where there's just more help out there for you, I always say, would you rather do two deals a year, or would you rather do 15, right, with some help on the side? So in that sense, definitely figure out what works for you. And it's not just transactional. This business is not transactional. This business is like sweat equity put into it with clients. You're putting kilometers on your car. You're having conversations from morning to night with them. So make sure this is something you want to get into and you have true good intentions that this is what to do.
Yeah, that is amazing advice because it is so on point. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am so appreciative of the time that you spent with me and with our audience, sharing about your experience, what success means to you, what you've also achieved, and how you achieved it. So thank you again so much. What I want to leave off with is, how can people find you on social media? How can they contact you?
Definitely, yeah. They can find me on Instagram. So my handle is Caroline Gawlik _realtor, and where they can contact me by phone. So 647-961-9590. I'd love to help them with any real estate needs. Where again, if you're thinking of becoming a realtor, we're currently in school. I definitely love to talk more about our team and how we can help you through that journey.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate your time, and I am wishing you tons of success. Like I said, I can't wait to see how far you take this. So I'm a happy bystander watching along.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And again, I'd love to say Colleen's coaching has totally changed my life and my business with my clients. So NLP training all the way. If you haven't done it, you definitely need to experience it and get on there with her.
Oh, thank you. All right, everybody. Until next time, thanks so much for joining us. Take care.